Welcome to Passion Travel. Explore world street food, captivating vlogs, and inspiring journeys with us. Subscribe to experience adventure in every video. Caramel au beurre sale, salted butter caramel candies or sauce. Recipe for Confit de Canard along with its ingredients and preparation. Ingredients: 4 duck legs and thighs attached. Coarse sea salt. Freshly ground black pepper. 4 cloves of garlic, crushed. A few sprigs of fresh thyme. Duck fat, enough to submerge the duck legs completely. Instructions: prep the duck legs, trim any excess skin from the duck legs. Season them generously with coarse sea salt and freshly ground black pepper, rubbing the seasoning into the skin. Marinate, place the duck legs in a shallow dish or tray. Add crushed garlic cloves and fresh thyme sprigs, distributing them evenly over the duck legs. Cover the dish with plastic wrap and refrigerate for at least 24 hours, allowing the flavors to meld. Preheat oven. Preheat your oven to 225 degrees Fahrenheit 110 degrees Celsius. Cook the duck. In a large oven-proof dish or Dutch oven, arrange the duck legs in a single layer. Make sure the duck legs are completely submerged in duck fat. If you don't have enough duck fat, you can supplement it with olive oil or another cooking fat. Slow cook. Transfer the dish to the preheated oven and cook the duck legs slowly for about 3 to 4 hours. The duck should be tender and easily pull away from the bone. Crisp the skin, optional. If you prefer crispy skin, you can finish the duck legs under a broiler for a few minutes after they've finished cooking in the oven. Keep an eye on them to prevent burning. Serve. Once cooked to your liking, remove the duck legs from the oven. Let them rest for a few minutes before serving. Tarte Flambée, thin pizza-like dough topped with crème fraîche, onions, and bacon. Tarte Flambée, also known as flammkuchen, along with its ingredients and preparation. Ingredients: 1 prepared pizza dough or flatbread. 200 g, 7 ounces, crème fraîche or sour cream. 1 large onion, thinly sliced. 150 g, 5 ounces, bacon or pancetta, thinly sliced. Salt and freshly ground black pepper to taste. Optional toppings: grated Gruyere cheese, chopped chives. Instructions: preheat oven. Preheat your oven to its highest temperature, typically around 475 degrees Fahrenheit 245 degrees Celsius or as high as it will go. If you have a pizza stone, place it in the oven to preheat as well. Prepare toppings. In a skillet over medium heat, cook the sliced bacon or pancetta until it's crispy. Remove from the skillet and set aside. In the same skillet, cook the thinly sliced onion until it's soft and caramelized, about 8 to 10 minutes. Set aside. Roll out the dough. Roll out the pizza dough or flatbread on a floured surface until it's very thin. Transfer the dough to a piece of parchment paper. Assemble. Spread the crème fraîche or sour cream evenly over the rolled-out dough, leaving a small border around the edges. Scatter the caramelized onions and crispy bacon evenly over the crème fraîche. Season with salt and freshly ground black pepper to taste. Bake. Transfer the assembled tarte flambée, still on the parchment paper, onto a baking sheet or directly onto the preheated pizza stone in the oven. Bake for about 8 to 10 minutes, or until the edges of the dough are golden brown and crispy. Serve. Once baked, remove the tarte flambée from the oven. If desired, sprinkle grated Gruyere cheese and chopped chives over the top while it's still hot. Cut into slices and serve immediately. Pain Perdu, French toast made with stale bread soaked in milk, eggs, and sugar. Recipe for pain Perdu, also known as French toast, along with its ingredients and preparation. Ingredients: 4 slices of day-old bread, such as French bread or brioche. 2 large eggs. Half a cup, 120 milliliters, milk. 1 teaspoon vanilla extract. 2 tablespoons, granulated sugar. Pinch of ground cinnamon, optional. Butter or cooking oil for frying. Maple syrup, powdered sugar, or fresh fruit for serving, optional. Instructions: Prepare bread. If your bread is fresh, let it sit out overnight to slightly dry out. Alternatively, you can lightly toast the bread slices in a toaster or oven until they are slightly crispy. Whisk egg mixture. In a shallow dish, whisk together the eggs, milk, vanilla extract, granulated sugar, and ground cinnamon, if using, until well combined. Soak bread. Dip each slice of bread into the egg mixture, ensuring both sides are coated evenly. Allow the bread to soak for about 20 to 30 seconds per side, but be careful not to let it become too soggy. Cook French toast. In a large skillet or frying pan, melt a knob of butter or heat a small amount of cooking oil over medium heat. Once the skillet is hot, add the soaked bread slices in a single layer. Fry. Cook the bread slices for 2 to 3 minutes on each side, or until they are golden brown and crispy on the outside and cooked through on the inside. Adjust the heat as needed to prevent burning. Serve. Once cooked, transfer the pain Perdu to a plate. Serve warm with maple syrup, powdered sugar, fresh fruit, or your Petits Fours, bite-sized sweet pastries often served with coffee. Recipe for Petits Fours along with its ingredients and preparation. Ingredients: 1 sheet of puff pastry, thawed if frozen. 1/4 cup, 50 g, granulated sugar. 1 teaspoon ground cinnamon. 1/4 cup, 60 g, unsalted butter, melted. Optional: jam, Nutella, chocolate chips, chopped nuts, or other fillings of your choice. Instructions. Preheat oven. Preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit 190 degrees Celsius and line a baking sheet with parchment paper. Prepare pastry. Roll out the puff pastry sheet on a lightly floured surface until it's about 1/4 inch thick. Use a sharp knife or pizza cutter to cut the pastry into small squares or rectangles, about 2 inches by 2 inches each. Fill and fold. If using fillings like jam, Nutella, or chocolate chips, place a small amount in the center of each pastry square. Fold the pastry over to enclose the filling, creating small parcels or turnovers. Press the edges together firmly to seal. Mix cinnamon sugar. In a small bowl, mix together the granulated sugar and ground cinnamon. Coat with cinnamon sugar. Brush each pastry parcel with melted butter, then sprinkle generously with the cinnamon sugar mixture, coating all sides. Arrange on baking sheet. Place the coated pastries on the prepared baking sheet, leaving some space between each one. Bake. Transfer the baking sheet to the preheated oven and bake for 15 to 20 minutes, or until the Petits Fours are puffed up and golden brown. Cool and serve. Once baked, remove the Petits Fours from the oven and let them cool slightly on the baking sheet before transferring them to a wire rack to cool completely. Crème Brûlée. Creamy custard dessert topped with a layer of caramelized sugar. Recipe for crème brûlée along with its ingredients and preparation. Ingredients: 4 large egg yolks. 1/4 cup, 50 g, granulated sugar, plus extra for caramelizing. 1 teaspoon vanilla extract. 1½ cups, 360 milliliters, heavy cream. Optional: fresh berries for garnish. Instructions. Preheat oven. Preheat your oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit 160 degrees Celsius. Place 4 ramekins or custard cups in a baking dish or roasting pan. Whisk egg mixture. In a mixing bowl, whisk together the egg yolks, granulated sugar, and vanilla extract until the mixture is smooth and pale yellow in color. Heat cream. In a saucepan, heat the heavy cream over medium heat until it just begins to simmer. Remove from heat. Combine mixtures. Slowly pour the hot cream into the egg mixture, whisking constantly to combine. Be careful not to scramble the eggs. Strain. Strain the mixture through a fine mesh sieve into a clean bowl to remove any lumps or bits of cooked egg. Fill ramekins. Divide the custard mixture evenly among the prepared ramekins. Fill them almost to the top, leaving a little space for the caramelized sugar topping. Bake. Carefully pour hot water into the baking dish or roasting pan until it comes about halfway up the sides of the ramekins, creating a water bath. Transfer the dish to the preheated oven and bake for 30 to 35 minutes, or until the edges are set but the centers are still slightly jiggly. Chill, remove the ramekins from the water bath and let them cool to room temperature. Then, cover them with plastic wrap and refrigerate for at least 2 hours, or overnight, to chill and set completely. Caramelize sugar. Just before serving, sprinkle a thin, even layer of granulated sugar over the surface of each custard. Use a kitchen torch to carefully caramelize the sugar until it forms a golden brown crust. Alternatively, you can place the ramekins under a broiler for a few minutes until the sugar caramelizes. Foie gras, duck or goose liver, often served as a pâté. Recipe for foie gras along with its ingredients and preparation. Ingredients: 1 whole lobe of foie gras, goose or duck liver, preferably grade A. Salt. Pepper. Sugar, optional. Instructions. Prepare the foie gras. Start by removing the foie gras from the refrigerator and allowing it to come to room temperature for about 30 minutes. This will make it easier to work with. Clean and trim. Carefully inspect the foie gras for any veins or discolored areas. Use a sharp knife to trim away any imperfections. Some chefs also remove the small veins by carefully pulling them out with the tip of a knife. Season the foie gras generously with salt and pepper. Some chefs also add a sprinkle of sugar to enhance caramelization during cooking, but this is optional. Shape. Depending on your preference, you can leave the foie gras whole or slice it into portions. If you're slicing it, use a sharp knife dipped in hot water to make clean cuts. Cook. There are several methods for cooking foie gras, including searing, baking, or poaching. One popular method is to sear it quickly in a hot pan until golden brown on both sides, then finishing it in the oven until it's warmed through but still pink in the center. Rest. Once cooked to your liking, remove the foie gras from the heat and let it rest for a few minutes before serving. This allows the juices to redistribute and ensures a tender texture. Serve. Foie gras is often served warm or at room temperature with accompaniments like toast points, crusty bread, fruit compote, or a sweet wine reduction. It can also be incorporated into various dishes like salads, pastas, or tranches. Macarons, colorful almond meringue cookies filled with various flavored creams. Recipe for making French macarons along with its ingredients and preparation. Ingredients. For the macaron shells: 1 cup, 100 g, almond flour. 1 3/4 cups, 210 g, powdered sugar. 3 large egg whites, at room temperature. 1/4 cup, 50 g, granulated sugar. Food coloring, optional. For the filling: 1/2 cup, 115 g, unsalted butter, at room temperature. 1½ cups, 180 g, powdered sugar. 1 teaspoon vanilla extract. Jam, ganache, or flavored buttercream for filling, optional. Instructions. Prepare baking sheets. Line 2 baking sheets with parchment paper or silicone baking mats. Set aside. Prepare dry ingredients. In a medium bowl, sift together the almond flour and powdered sugar. Discard any large lumps that remain. Make meringue. In a separate large bowl, beat the egg whites with an electric mixer on medium speed until they become frothy. Gradually add the granulated sugar while continuing to beat. Increase the speed to high and beat until stiff peaks form and the mixture is glossy. If using, add food coloring during this stage and mix until evenly distributed. Fold and dry ingredients. Gently fold the sifted almond flour and powdered sugar mixture into the beaten egg whites in 3 separate additions, using a spatula. Be careful not to overmix. The batter should be smooth and flowing, but not runny. Pipe macarons. Transfer the macaron batter to a piping bag fitted with a round tip. Pipe small rounds of batter onto the prepared baking sheets, leaving space between each macaron shell. Tap the baking sheets gently on the countertop to release any air bubbles. Rest. Let the piped macarons sit at room temperature for about 30 to 60 minutes, or until a skin forms on the surface. This helps create the characteristic feet of the macarons during baking. Preheat oven. Meanwhile, preheat your oven to 300 degrees Fahrenheit, 150 degrees Celsius. Bake. Once the macarons have rested and developed a skin, bake them in the preheated oven for 15 to 18 minutes, or until they are set and easily lift off the parchment paper or baking mat. Be careful not to